gorgeous, just absolutely perfect. Or,
I have it here too if you want.
rain came in, we're like, well, we did what we wanted to do, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Rain.
I didn't know if it had
I
I didn't know if it had any,
It's
see, I just
Just doing a
glanced at it. I
bond.
didn't know if it had anything about like
we'll
distances.
see if the
Oh,
water
yeah,
water
it's
now.
pretty in-depth.
It
It
looked
starts
like
on, I think, Ben
Yeah.
went to town on it.
I glanced,
Well, this
it was
is-
like, some, it's like sheds recommended. But I only
The
looked at it.
anxiety thing
Ah.
is that it's
Yeah, because that pile is like
16
sitting,
mile ski
it's sitting right on the river.
into
Yeah, it's been a
cabin,
Right.
conversation for many years, actually.
and
And they were doing better with
Is
it,
it
and then it just kind of
flat?
got,
Is it
really
up and
got kind of
down?
sloppy.
Is it-
I've never
so
noticed
the
it.
first
I've never noticed
13
it before.
miles are
Well, they used to
the
put
park
it-
road.
Closer to that Little Brooks,
Okay.
that's
Part
on
of
the
it
outside of
is-
that parking lot.
Yeah, yeah,
And then because of
Snow
snow,
machine.
whatever, it got put right
So
there.
it should be in
And
pretty good condition.
neither side of it was great,
Yeah.
to be honest.
The last 3 is on the hiking
Really?
trail,
Okay.
which they do run, the rangers run snow machines up.
I don't know whether we need both.
Because
So-
skiing and post holing, or having
Right.
other people's post holes.
Right, it's like the
Nice.
first few miles that are flat where it's like, if there's,
Alright.
I think this is like, as things started to melt
We
out,
also
it
had
Yeah.
Apple
was
because he's.
deteriorating
Mhm.
rapidly, where it was like sections of bare ground,
Just-
and
Yeah.
like- or you'd have to like kind of snake around to
Right.
stay on snow.
Mhm.
So,
I wonder where
just-
you went.
I don't know.
In our
Right, and-
research, it's like one of the lowest snow years they've had,
Mhm.
and, well,
You may have to take the
Must have
machines off.
signed in, realized they didn't want to be signed in.
Oh, I know.
yeah, I
Says
mean, it's
one
gonna be a lot
Right.
of,
That's us.
Right, so what happened to Mrs. Campbell?
I just, low expectations,
400 feet
just going to
from
That's
have
public
good.
supplies,
That's
75
what I do. I
Right.
go low expectations and be pleasantly surprised.
I
Yeah,
thought maybe the
But
participant
if
calling us.
it's
Yeah.
bad, then you're fine,
Yeah.
because you knew
Oh, wait,
that was a
you
possibility. That's where you start from.
yeah.
Says we
And
only got one participant.
Yeah.
we haven't,
So they would call back in if they got this,
I guess we've,
how'd you get that?
I just did this. It
2
says
years ago, we went and did
contacts.
something, but we haven't like actually gotten
Oh,
out
people
and done
don't-
anything
Okay, so we
together
invited them.
for a while.
It doesn't mean that they tried to
Right.
come in.
Right,
So you're worried about Caitlin?
so,
No,
Did they do that?
I, no, it's
I
the
don't know whether Dick's
expectation
gonna try to come
of,
in or not.
I just want to be with her
Well-
for 9 days,
Once
not doing
Dylan's
any work,
done talking
so
about
the problem.
that's just gravy.
we could go on for hours.
Dylan gets stressed out at doing this, I am, but,
Right.
Table, take them in.
yeah, it's not gonna be perfect condition, just kind of, hey there.
Hey, good
Brian, you in
evening.
charge?
I am.
All right.
So why don't we call this March 7th meeting into session by going over last month's minutes, which we
Don't have.
don't have, but we can.
I read through them. I'll make a motion to accept them.
All those in favor?
You gotta get a second.
Oh, sorry. Can I get it? Anyone want to second that?
Second thing, I did read through them also.
You did?
I think I read through them, but I don't remember.
He does a good job.
Who
Yeah,
does
Yeah.
it?
I'm sure it was fine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
He takes up the stuff that we shouldn't have. And,
I had a really bad copy of the minutes. Is there an extra? All right, first item, Prospect Farm General Stewardship Plan Town Meeting.
I will encourage everybody to show up Thursday night and vote yes. You never know.
And you said you and Jeff were gonna plan to be there to help.
I will be there to
advocate
answer questions, but, you know, you can always get somebody to say a few things and it can go the wrong way
Yeah.
if there's a small turnout, so I
Right.
strongly encourage people to show and vote. I would hate to have to go back and do this over again.
Right. I'm sorry, what time was that again?
7 o'clock?
7 o'clock.
Unfortunately, the first one I'm gonna miss in a few years.
And Jeff did double check because it was not, the selectmen had voted it in.
leaving on your trip.
Yeah.
And then Jeff checked with the folks across the room here, and that it slipped, but they did get it in. I checked the whatever it is.
the warrant article.
The warrant article is on the town for a vote, so we're all set on that.
All right, the next item on the agenda is Jackson Falls path material grant opportunity. Any discussion on the path material?
Oh, yeah, but I guess there wasn't anything in Jeff's notes about the grant, other than the kiosk is.
Oh, I can speak to the grant. Emily Benson shared with me, it's, oh gosh, I'm gonna blank on who it is now. It's like ARP or somebody like that. Anyway, it's a grant for making like reasonable and accommodational pathways. And so there is a grant there. So
Okay.
she passed it on to me, I passed it on to Jeff. I don't know if we actually need a funding source for this, depending, I guess it depends on how large we're scaling this up, or if the money would just come from the Wildcat Trust. But she did forward it on to me and I sent it on to him. I didn't really, I just kind of glanced at it. It was like, I could probably find it, like some sort of like walkways and pathways. There's like age-friendly designations that you can get for pathways.
Right.
And it was like part of that system. I bet I can find it in a second.
Well, I guess it just is, if this is our sort of experimental use with the wood chips, like maybe keep that in our back pocket for now, is if we want to use it in more extensive areas, definitely pursue that as a.
Yeah, it seemed like we had,
Take us on.
like that we would just go with the Wildcat Trust, but it seemed like maybe it was something that we wanted to expand or do something that we thought would be.
This is a grant for handicap access? or-
I want to say it's like an age-friendly thing. I need to find it. It had like a designation I hadn't heard of, and I don't know. I don't know if I'll actually find it now that I'm saying this out loud.
If you can send it to me, I can take a look at it.
I will. I forwarded it to Jeff, and I don't know if I still actually even have the email anymore.
All right, well, while you're looking for that, I know Jeff had put out an email about the kiosk materials and costs. Again, I could pull that up.
Yeah, basically, he said he got a bid for $1,650, which was less than the $1,900. And I think he also said that he checked with the trust fund, and there was sufficient money there to proceed ahead.
So did he want us to take a vote to?
I would suggest that we take a vote.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll just come back and talk about it again.
Is Dick on Zoom?
Dick is on.
Okay.
Dick, can you hear us?
All right, he's voting over tonight.
Dick, you're muted.
I can hear you.
Right.
There we go.
Dick, you're also a voting person tonight.
Oh, I'm glad I showed up.
Welcome. Would anyone like to make a motion to pull funds for the kiosk at the Jackson Falls for $1,650? Because I can't actually make the motion, although I basically did.
I guess I just have a question, that, has the money already been allotted for that? He's requested,
Because we requested 1,900 earlier, so I don't know if we have to re-request that or if we already have that. I don't know how that works.
or just vote a motion to proceed with the contractor that he's spoken with,
Right, and
move forward with that.
Do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, I'll make a motion to proceed with the contractor that he's spoken with for the price he was quoted.
can I have a,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Accepted?
And while we're on Jackson Falls, I would suggest at the next meeting, Jeff has put together this timeline for the community garden, And next meeting, maybe we put together a timeline on the stuff that we want to do at Jackson Falls and try to get that on the calendar.
That's a good idea. Any discussion with Gray's Inn? I mean, I guess it's, well, we can say the Gray's Inn property, and then we'll go into the community garden. All right. Moving forward to the community garden. Wildcat Foundation grant update. Pam, maybe?
Well, you know,
As Jeff's not here?
yeah, well, Jeff did a great job presenting at the Zoom meeting that they had. I was listening into. And so the next day, they basically awarded, they told us that they had awarded the $2,000 to the Jackson,
Nice.
for the Jackson Community Garden, which is great.
And there is another source of money that somebody forwarded to me for community gardens, which I think is listed, the Garden Conservancy, so if there is need for additional funding,
Well, you know,
there is potential.
Because I did see something, I was pulling up a few bylaws from a couple of the community gardens I'm familiar with, and one of them was the Tattersall Farm Community Garden, and they showed pictures on their site of handicap accessible garden beds that were much better than what we were planning. In other words, they were real wooden things with like a plastic cap, and they filled them with soil, and they looked really good. So that might be better than just trying to use fabric, you know, long fabric bags, because that was the cheapest alternative we could come up with. So, I mean, that would be pretty cool. If we could actually do real standing beds like that.
So, do we want to go through this, the whole timeline, and like, what's your guys' feeling? Has everyone looked over the timeline? I didn't get to look over this whole timeline. I'm happy to go through it and read items if need be. And what's our feeling on what we're trying to accomplish this evening in regards to it?
I think his timeline is realistic if you're going to do something this summer.
Yeah, I mean, you have to.
And I will tell you that I do have a call into the Jackson Water Precinct, because I was able to find out that the library and the town don't pay for water. And so, you know, we've been talking about hooking up to the spigot or to the fire hydrant. I had a call into the Jackson Water Precinct. It's kind of nice, they have an answering service. So last week I left a message, at some point maybe I'll get a call back. I don't know if anybody else has a more direct line to the Water Precinct Commissioner.
Scott Hayes? Did you not get a call back? Is that what you're saying? You did
Yeah,
not?
yeah. Well, I wouldn't expect it. I mean, they meet once a month, and I'm not sure. I assume that they send the messages out, but, you know, it's a matter of getting somebody to call me back, I guess. And they, you know.
Yeah,
So-
that's what they have. It is an answering service. Scott's usually pretty good at getting back.
Well, Dave Matesky's on. He's not a commissioner, but he's involved with that. And
He's a hired consultant.
He's a what?
He's the hired consultant.
Oh,
Oh, is that what he is?
His company is hired to run the show, but he's not a commissioner.
okay. I didn't know that, okay. And, yeah, Kevin Pratt, at
Mhm.
Flossie's, yeah.
Yeah.
he's on that.
And so what were you
Well,
looking
what I
to
was
see?
trying to do is I was trying to figure out from them, because this is what Frank DeFruscio said, because I asked him about water, and he said check with the water commissioners. So I figured, well, first let's check and see if the town and the library actually pay for water. And then I think it'd be a good idea to talk to the water precinct and find out about how, if we're gonna do this, what effect will this have on them? And what would they like to see from us? Because I know in some of the community gardens that I'm familiar with, they have like watering days and, requirements as to what you can and cannot use to kind of keep a handle on the water usage. So just something I was considering, and obviously you want to give them a heads up that we're going to be tapping into,
Right.
the town's water. But the good news was they don't pay for it, so that was nice.
Gravity feed off a ice brook.
I suspect that's that's probably much worse than tapping into their spigot.
Oh,
Well, there is the pond out there too. the
that's
old
what I
pond.
mean. I mean, just the gravity feed out of the brook.
If that runs all summer.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that it does.
Yeah. It gets pretty low.
Mm.
When you need it the most, there'd be no water there.
So basically, you know, the layout and that sort of thing, we had done I don't know if you guys saw that, we did the
Yeah.
CAD program. It was all part of the presentation that Jeff did. And we can move things depending
Mhm.
on, I mean, I'm looking even now, how far did they push that pile of snow back there? Because if you're gonna have a fence, you wanna make sure you're far enough back, so you're
Right.
not running into that situation. And then talking with Lycan to make sure that the library's uses are not impacted, because they like to put their tent out there. And then for bylaws, I know Ken, you were looking at stuff for community gardens.
All I did was send to Jeff some websites that I found.
Right.
Yeah.
And I picked up a few, didn't know if anybody wanted to take a look at them. Some of them are pretty good. They're things like, just things like you can, you know, things have to be organic, they are within,
That's the next
according to certain guidelines, that sort of thing. Environmental guidelines.
First Monday.
I can actually.
Yeah, that's what I
It's,
That's April 4th. Oh, it must be April 4th. 'cause
April
that's-
4th.
Yeah. So,
So there are things that, according to this timeline, there
Yeah.
are things that would need to happen before
our next meeting, that's what I'm.
that next meeting, yeah.
So it's contact the interested residents, solicit more interest if needed, hold an initial planning meeting via Zoom among interested residents, Conservation Commission members, and other stakeholders such as town and library. So I guess two in that Zoom meeting, discuss timelines, bylaws, plan for April site meeting, produce a brief report, and draft bylaws for April CC. So that's
That's a lot.
a little ambitious, but
Yeah, because, I mean, I guess you basically, you know, contact all the people that initially expressed an interest. I guess you put it on e-news and do a Zoom meeting, see who's interested.
right, and then
You could try and draft, I guess come up with some suggestions for draft bylaws and then people discuss them.
Okay.
I always think it's better to put a straw man version out there and then let people, if you put out a blank piece of paper,
Just take you forever.
you're gonna make it a multi-month.
Yeah,
yeah, right.
So
yeah,
So basically, someone has to draft something up and
yeah.
hope that it's catchy.
So if we're gonna try and do this before April 4th, does it make sense to see if someone wants to take on kind of like the people aspect, which is organizing that Zoom meeting and bylaws, and then maybe someone else who's willing to take on like the materials aspect, like the materials, contractors, right, kind of divided that way? Like a person or two is gonna handle the people, and a person or two that's gonna handle more of the site.
Well, I
Does
could
that
do
make
the
sense?
bylaws.
I can look into the materials.
I don't know if that makes sense to kind of split it up that
I
way.
haven't, well, yeah, I can't do the bylaws, but I've got a couple people, I know someone in particular, I don't want to mention any names just because.
Potential materials, suppliers, contractors,
Um,
town and labor donations discounts.
I guess that would be, just the volume, quantity, cubic yardage. Maybe.
Maybe we can get Jeff to put together a Zoom meeting or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I could reach out to him and maybe just ask him what he was thinking for his cubic yardage and,
Yeah.
and that would even kind of fall into some, organic fertilizer related
Mhm.
dimensions.
Yeah, I was thinking too that you'd be a really good resource in terms of trying to build the soil over there.
Mhm.
How to do that, because you've done that,
Yeah.
I know, with your own garden.
Yeah, I mean, you should also have a composting.
But also
So-
you do the buckwheat, you did all
I
that.
do all
and that sort
cover
of thing,
crops.
Because what happens is you're gonna bring the soil in the first year, so it should be good. But then if people keep using it, it's just gonna,
Right,
you
the
know,
pH
poop
will
out.
change and it'll become,
Unless you get enough compost or unless you've got some sort of plan as to how to,
yeah.
have a set of problems.
I mean, you couldn't ask for an easier way to do a cover crop than in a raised bed. It's just very simple,
Yeah.
and you could, it's something maybe to, I wouldn't say in the bylaws, but maybe just have it be, recommended as something that we try to do every fall.
Right.
In any space that's not being used, should always have something like green manure
Mhm.
growing. But that's pretty easy.
Our, I guess our basic size unit that we're looking for, or how expansive this is going, do we have like a fixed number in mind, or does it kind of scale to the number of people that have expressed interest?
I think it was scaled to the number of people that had
Okay.
expressed interest, so it's like 12 sites, and then we have 2 larger beds for community gardens.
Okay.
Will the CAD thing that Jeff presented, will that have,
Yeah.
would that be able to give Brian a rough idea of materials?
Yep.
That was okay.
Well, it has all the, it has the dimensions, and I think the presentation that we made has, we were able to figure out, basically materials, how much we would need for soil and that sort of thing, and then what the price is per, yard.
Cubic
Prices from
yard.
Fred Henry, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So all that stuff was in there, but.
Oh, it was,
you know,
okay.
In that presentation, and we can certainly, get that out and see, how that works with,
Mm.
what
Yeah,
you've
it
got.
can't be out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, what is it, CDC,
Right, he does.
he's still struggling to
Mhm.
sell his business, but I buy from him where he just has soils that are amended with stuff from the ocean and so on,
Yeah.
so
Right.
it's good soil.
Yeah.
I've had
It's-
good-
Me too.
I think he might market that as organic. Might be more expensive than what we had priced out, J&J, but definitely would be probably have
Yeah.
an organic component.
Okay, well, I can look into that. Oh, just confirm with Jeff and
That'd be
two of
great.
us.
Yeah.
I think we can probably come up with something. All right, so where does that put us? It's on the timeline bylaws, plan for the April on-site meeting. Do we need anything to have available for the April meeting? Stakes, I mean, the ground might be, well, it's April 4th.
Steaks would be good.
Yeah, okay. We might still have stakes too in our, we still have a locker.
A locker where?
We used to have a locker in the old Gray's Inn garage.
Oh, I don't know, I've never been in there.
I guess that's another conversation. We had like a tool locker at some point, but
We talked about it, I didn't know we had one. Okay.
well, we probably don't have it anymore. They've probably been dispersed throughout the town.
Probably threw it
It's no
out.
longer
Yeah.
ours. Okay.
So if we can get Jeff to do the Zoom bit and to try and, that would be good in terms of organizing that. And then I can do bylaws, you can do materials.
Right, and then it's requesting materials, time, labor, donations, and discounts, which,
I think that's everything before the April 4th meeting.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that all kind of wraps into one conversation in terms of materials. If they're giving us a discount, that would be, would show up.
Right.
So in April 4th's meeting, we would discuss the Conservation Committee meeting. We'd review the report and draft the bylaws, initial planning meeting, make edits as necessary, agree on updates to provide to the select board. That's basically just expanding upon the bylaws and the on-site meeting. Let's see here.
So maybe the stakes would go on the week of April 18th or 25th, because they're talking about reviewing the proposed layout at that point.
Mhm. Yeah, but I think it'd be nice just to have something on the 4th just to get a scale.
That would be good. Just the outlines.
You may or may not have snow on the ground.
You're right, at this point,
Yeah,
daffodils.
I hope so, but
yeah.
Yankee daffodils.
That'd be good, so then people can go out and take a look and say, okay, this is gonna be the perimeter, you know?
Sorry, next meeting is May 2nd. At the May 2nd meeting, we review the proposed layout and finalize, review the drafted bylaws and produce a final for the select board. And when is so it looks like May 16th and May 23rd would be the actual construction beginning of the community garden.
That'll give us a good amount of time to like advertise and try to get some volunteers.
Yeah, I mean,
It's ambitious, but
ambitious, but it seems.
if you have the, the interested parties who are, the community that's potentially using the beds, who knows, you might have a good workforce. It's hard to know in terms of
Yeah,
who's interested to know what you actually need to
right.
construct it. But
Mhm.
if you have 12 interested parties, it might be a breeze.
Could be.
Do anyone else have any input on the community garden?
The only thing I would add to it, which we don't need to think about now, but is something along the lines of like, in the fall, like establishment or nomination of governing body, so you've had a full season, so hopefully maybe in like October, you have a big wrap-up, it's like a big wrap-up party, but then you also, I'd start the big process of identifying who would, if at that point you could hand it over or not. I don't know if this would have to be just this one season thing that the Conservation Commission would have it, or if it would need to be two, but, maybe ideally at that fall thing, is you identify the volunteers that are really involved, and then you get people to sign up, and all right, for the next year, I'm gonna be the president of the,
Yeah,
community garden. This is the vice president, and that way you have some people that are committed.
Right.
Someone who actually says, yes, I'm committed, and
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Right, which could be a board member. I
Yeah,
guess.
it could be a board
Not
member.
to say that you can't probably do both, but it is a good idea. That was the discussion, I think, at the last meeting, was trying to have us just oversee and not actually manage it. Advisory. All right, well, let's move on to the Wildcat River. Tin Mountain Wild and Scenic Grant update.
Yeah, so with that, we are moving right along. We thank you very much for volunteering for Friday.
Yes.
So on Friday, we have been meeting with Ellen at Ski Touring and with John Marshall at the Grammar School. On Friday, we're going to take we'll take the 5th and 6th grade class, and we're going to go up and spend the day up at the orchard, learning how to trim trees with Brian and Dudley.
Yep.
I was telling people, they're like, that sounds like a good day. I was like, it's going to be a great day.
Nice. Yeah.
So I think there's still one or two details we need to figure out. Tools, that's something I need to figure out, whether tools are coming from ski touring, whether I'm bringing tools from Tin Mountain. I gotta figure that out. I assume we're just using loppers, right? Anything other than a lopper? Hand clipper?
Hand clippers probably be good. I mean,
Okay.
we'll have some pull saws, but it's
Okay.
up to you. There'll be a telescoping limbing saw,
Oh, they'd like that.
but not for everyone else to use. But
They'd like to see it.
yeah. There'll probably be probably a third arborist as well.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So for the kids at least, you think we just need hand clippers? You think we need loppers? What should we?
I would say hand clippers and loppers would be the best.
Okay.
But
I'll try to maybe bring a mix, 5 and 5. Ski touring said that they would run a show. Ellen said that they will groom it either Wednesday night or Thursday sometime Thursday. And she said, whatever the conditions are best, we'll group it or won't group it, whatever makes the most sense,
Right.
so that's fine. And they said they will run a shuttle to take the equipment up.
Okay, cool.
So they can sled that stuff up, and then I might also borrow like a Polk or something from ski touring in case there's more stuff I need to take up.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if you needed, like,
No, we can
you're gonna
backpack our stuff or
take
whatever.
everything yourselves?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, if it comes down to it and it was available, I wouldn't say no. But I
Okay.
wouldn't, I think we're gonna go up early, possibly the day early, and just do a little probing around and maybe do a little partial demonstration, just like come into something and being like, oh,
That'd be awesome.
this is what it looks like, and now we're gonna begin the process.
That'd be awesome. My thought is that we'll probably get to the winter parking lot at like 9 or 9:30, and then I'm gonna guess it's gonna take us an hour to an hour and a half to get up. That's my guess. It's probably about a mile,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna ballpark it about an hour probably at least to get up. Hour up, and then for those on skis, it'll be like 4 minutes down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 400 times getting up.
So the goal is to get to the ocean around 11ish.
Do they have snowshoes if they?
Yes, the school has snowshoes, and so
They should get there easily in an hour.
Mr. Marshall and I are going to work on is just figuring out who's going to be skiing, who's going to be snowshoeing. I'm ballparking it probably about an hour. So we'll get there about 11ish, and then they don't need to leave until probably. So we got about 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Cool.
And,
That's awesome.
long lunch, hang out. We'll send this-
The forecast is so-so, isn't it?
right now it's like partly sunny and 40
Yeah.
is what I last saw. It looks like it's great maple sugaring weather.
Right,
the next
trees will be
couple of
budding.
days. Yeah, right.
Yeah, Ellen is gonna have her hands full because they've got the U16 races here Saturday and Sunday. And they're gonna be scrambling to get that course back together.
Yeah, and that's why I told her like whatever she can provide.
Yeah.
We're grateful.
If there's snowshoes and skiers can, those who can ski will probably in 5th and 6th grade.
Well, my thought is that there will be some snowshoers, and we'll probably bring extra snowshoes in case there's any skiers that get up there and then realize they can't or
Yeah.
don't feel comfortable coming back down.
Yeah,
Um,
the orchards, the hall.
There's several students that are very comfortable in skis, and there's some that are,
Yeah. Yeah, it's intimidating.
So we'll plan to be probably heading back down around 1 or 1:30, and then back, driving back to the school too.
Okay.
Kind of the plan. Anyway, so it should be a good day. I'm excited.
We're excited. It's
Yeah.
excellent.
And then the other part of that with this grant is, which I don't think the Conservation Commission is going to be involved in at all, is just the hut trip at the end of the year. So we are taking the 5th and 6th graders again on a 3-day hut trip to Carter Notch Hut.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we got it booked. I'm excited. The kids, they don't know about it yet, so if you're watching this, don't tell your children yet.
Exactly. You don't think they watch this for fun?
Yeah, all the 5-6ers are all watching this right now. Yeah.
You're gonna follow the Wildcat right up from the Prospect Farm side?
So I think our plan is we're gonna go to Pinkham first to get outfitted with all the gear, and then we'll hike up 19 Mile, and then come back down, and we'll walk it. So it's like, I really like the idea of like because it's gonna feel like we're going somewhere far, and then we're basically like walking home.
Yeah,
Which I think
think
was
that's
cool. So we'll walk the backside back down.
Yeah.
But I gotta figure out the vehicles for that too. But
Well, since you're talking about watersheds when you're at Pinkham, when you cross the road on Route 16 where that beaver bog is, and that's highly unusual actually, but the north end of that beaver bog flows into the Androscoggin watershed, the south
yeah,
end
it's a divide right
flows
there.
down. Well, yeah, it's,
It goes in 2 different directions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
that's
the watershed
unusual.
divide right there. It's like a little, just a height of land.
Well, the beaver bog was formed by when they moved Route 16, because Route 16 used to be the parking lot. That's an artifact of road construction, that beaver bog.
Excellent. I don't believe we would have any a conversation about the conservation easements. Everybody, that's just goes in there. I don't believe there's any new wetlands permit information or requests. And for new business, I think the lead year's better. Black Mountain manure pile. That's come up before. This isn't the first time we had that come up on the agenda. So there's horses that are kept at Black Mountain stables, I guess we could say, at Black Mountain ski area. And through the course of the year, the manure pile seems to move. But currently, I think it's either the way the parking is or the snow piles in the parking lot across the street from the ski area. The manure is now very close to the edge of the road, and it's always pretty close to Great Brook. So Ben pulled up a manual from, I believe, the state?
Yes, the Department of Agriculture.
With over 20 pages, but pages 19 to roughly 22 is about best management practices for horse manure. So,
I think they moved that pile. I went up by there yesterday, and it looked like they had moved that pile out. There was still quite a bit of residual stuff left. I don't know if others have been up there. So it doesn't look like they're using it as a permanent, but it doesn't change the fact that's not
Correct.
how you should be. storing
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
It's leaching in, especially.
yeah, I think the bottom line is that there has to be, whatever the practice is, the best practice here is something that needs to be implemented there so that,
And
I
this-
mean, even if they're moving it periodically, it's still always one spot or another, and neither of those piles, as far as I can tell, in regards to how close the brook is, are following the best management practices.
So is it a matter of writing a letter and that sort of thing, or is there some action that we should be taking?
Well, I didn't know, because I looked at the thing, I just glanced right now, so I don't know if Ben, you've had a better reading of it, but I didn't see any like actual, there's best practice in there, but I didn't see any like recommendations, so I didn't know if we checked with like DES or somebody, if there's like actual, like, hey, you need to have, by law, 20-foot buffer, or, I didn't know if there was like an actual, number associated that, gives it a little more enforcement. This one I glanced at, it had kind of like a best management practices, and it said just keep it in the storage shed. If the storage shed is not available, it needs to be somewhere where it won't leach, but it didn't necessarily like spell out what that means.
Right.
Like it just said keep away from open water streams, but it didn't say like what does keep away mean?
Right.
Like it's keep away
And what
off the bank,
what
it's keep away like.
And what are the rules in order to go to, enforce or to,
Well, maybe the best approach is a gentle one, and maybe just supplying this information to them with the request of, basically saying, hey, this has come up, there's been a complaint, and as an advisory board to the town, this is what we've come up with from the state, and
Yeah, maybe just simple as asking them what their
Yeah.
current plan is, like what,
Exactly.
just maybe just making that more transparent to the residents and neighbors.
yeah.
Like, oh, this is.
There's also a health issue there because Great Brook feeds into Wildcat, and during the summer, you get a lot of people who are swimming in the
Right.
Wildcat.
Right.
And the Wildcat before has had coliform
and the
because of
pond,
other.
isn't the pond for quote unquote.
I think they had to close the pond.
Swimming in Whitney's pond, so it might be, the first thing to do is a simple request.
Mhm.
As you said, nice, gentle, what can we do about this? If really comes down to it, we'll probably take a water sample above, excuse me, above and below to see what the coliform bloom is, or in the pond. But I think the simple request is the way to go to start it off.
Yeah. No, but it's easy enough to follow these rules. It's just maybe a little education and a friendly reminder that people are paying attention.
Yeah.
At the end of that, there is a reporting form, the request, but for the Department of Agriculture inspector to assess a site. But all of the relevant rules, I think, fall under shoreland protection. But yes, I think that's how they would start it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's New Hampshire Department of Agriculture, Market and Foods, Best Management Practices for Agriculture Complaint Form. Pursuant to RSA 431, 33 to 35. Yeah, so a complaint must be submitted in writing and signed by the complaint before a site visit can be done under the New Hampshire Right to Know law. Information cannot be kept confidential.
Right.
Well, I think following what you suggested, Brian, and Dick is supporting as well, and I think I would be first just to send the letter to them, saying it's brought to our attention. We would prefer to have it remedied before a complaint is filed with the Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, before I would make an official
Yeah.
complaint.
Right, and then attach maybe the web address to the manual, and
Yeah.
maybe just request an update before our next meeting, or a
Yeah.
conversation, or some sort of a reply.
And emphasize the fact that there's a lot of people that swim downstream of that.
Yeah.
And that's, has had coliform problems before.
Mhm.
I think the Davises used to keep pigs in that little place right around the corner there, and that used to be but the problem, even with a bacteria sample, is if you're gonna do the sampling, you would wanna do it during a rainstorm, where you would do it above and below, because that stuff will stay there stationary
Right.
until you get a rainstorm, and then it will start to move it.
Yeah,
If you go sample, for example, during a drought, you'll get
Right.
nothing.
right, and it was
Yeah.
clearly just running along
Right.
the side of the road.
Yeah.
Would it, I guess, general Wildcat River water quality
Mm.
sampling, could this fall under a larger, like, long-term project of where we're looking at the quality of the drainage? I think.
Great Brook is actually part of the Wild and Scenic Program.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember from previous complaints to Black Mountain in regards to water quality.
Well,
And
they
then
had a
the
problem
Great
with that, didn't they just put the sandbags
There's the
up there? and that
sandbag,
sort of
Yeah,
thing?
there was also the horse
Yeah.
manure came up a couple of years ago.
And I don't think Whitney's can use the swimming pond there anymore because it had high coliform counts.
So what happened last time, Brian, with the manure issue?
I think they've been spreading it on the field, and they were storing it, I believe they weren't bringing it across the street anymore. It was staying on the barn side.
So you're saying this pile's now across the
But
street?
it's still an issue. I mean, if you think about it, there's a road between one manure dump site and the other. Any runoff is pitched.
Mhm.
It's not a good situation
It
regardless.
is, one of the piles is right up against the snowbank, and the snowbank's right on the banks of the river.
Yeah.
It's like,
Mhm.
it's essentially on Great Brook. I mean, it's,
And then the other one is the manure just comes down, flows slightly south to the road and then crosses and it's in the river. So neither one is ideal. And then you have roof pitches dropping water off of structures.
But was there a letter to the owner? Was there a letter to the owner last time? and
I
that sort of
don't-
thing?
I can't remember.
Or does that have to be
No,
So this is not the first time this complaint has come in then?
no, it's not.
Yeah.
But it's been a while.
Yeah,
Must have been.
yeah.
is it the same owner as the ski resort and the stables?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who lives across the road from me?
You can go over and talk.
Yeah, there you go.
Pretty good, thanks, guys. We're gonna write a letter.
Hey, step up.
All those in favor?
Now, that letter should come from the chairman of the...
Yeah, yeah. well, we don't need to vote on that,
I think this is the first step. We just send the relevant,
but, information to Black Mountain.
yeah, just, I think the first paragraph of what the best practice is that it shouldn't be open to exposed runoff,
Right,
which it is, so.
right. Yeah. Yeah, it's,
And I think that's not asking for specific remedies, just,
And not threatening, just saying, you know, it's been brought to our attention,
Yeah.
you know, could contribute, you know.
well, it's also beyond our capability to do any response because the town doesn't have any relevant warrant articles.
No, but we could file with the Department of Agriculture.
Yeah.
right,
We also have the wild and scenic end of it too, where
Yeah.
the town has authority to enforce that, right?
but hopefully all will be unnecessary.
Right.
So provide the information, like I think what Ben said, it's probably is nice just to maybe put in a quick little paragraph that just says, here,
Best
you know,
practices.
here's a couple bullet points. Here's access to the best management practices, and maybe a timeline that we would like to be informed that they're making progress or what the plan is, and maybe just a reminder that there are things that can be done through the state that we would prefer to not have to be involved with. So Jeff is more than capable of providing us with providing them with a good document, I think.
Yeah, I think just finding out what their plan is good, because I mean, it could be a temporary thing, and then,
Yeah.
who knows what it's.
Tractor broke down for all we know.
And, yeah, they're trying to sell it to somebody else or something, you know, they're trying to offload it to compost, and
Yeah.
so.
All right, well, I feel we covered that as best we could. Any other new business?
I'm just gonna add that I think I found that grant I was talking about, that Emily Vincent sent to me. It's an AARP Community Challenge Grant for quick action projects to help make communities more livable for people of all ages. And the examples that they gave forward were like creating pathways, multimodal pathways in parks. And they talked about installing and hardening surfaces.
Can you forward that to me? I
Yeah.
don't want to dump everything on Jeff, but I'm willing to take a look at it.
Yeah. I'm happy to send it over. And it looks like it's a big pot of money, $3.5 million. I mean, it goes lots of places, but. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, AARP covers the whole country, so
Yeah.
that's,
I don't think we'll get $3.5 million.
Who needs wood chips?
We've planted our pathways in gold.
Yeah, marble. Like they used to do. Okay, I don't have any new business. Dick?
Bennett here.
Dick Bennett?
I was wondering if anybody had ever reached out to Fran Lyons about his property up by Prospect Farm. There's going to be an initiative to raise some money for a town-wide planning. It was kind of generated off of the fire department. The request for a new fire station, which is not going forward this year, but there may be some money in order to have that discussion town-wide. But within that discussion, maybe if we had some information, whether it's even possible that Fran would be interested in selling that property, or best yet, donate it so he could get a tax write-off for it. But anyway, if there was any possibility of that moving towards the town, maybe we should solidify that at this time, so that if the money is raised for a town-wide charrette or however they structure it, we'd have some input for spending money towards that purchase. So I don't know if somebody could reach out to Fran and just say, you know, what do you think? Is it within the realm of possibility, or is it totally off the table? What's going on?
yeah, Dick, Peter Benson actually had approached him, and And I actually had approached him a couple of years ago through another avenue. And Fran, in both cases, has sort of said, well, that's interesting, I'll get back to you. He's been very ambivalent about giving a response. And if I'm correct, he goes to Florida during the winter, or at least for a good chunk of it. But I think you are correct, we need to approach him. My thought would be sort of two steps. One is first to get the stewardship plan voted through on Thursday, because that's embedded in the stewardship plan of approaching Fran. So that would give us the town approval to take that step, as opposed to sort of getting the cart before the horse. And then once that vote goes through, then I think we would then legitimately be able to approach Fran. The second thing I would point out is the Conservation Commission, through the current use, has around $70,000. So if we're putting it in, some of it will come down to, and that $70,000 that comes in for current use is specifically for that purpose.
Correct. Yeah.
So if that's the case, or I shouldn't say for the Fran purpose, but it is there specifically for this kind of land purchase by the town, or by the Conservation Commission, actually. I think those funds can actually be spent without the selectmen, but I'd have to check on that. So if Fran gives a signal that he is interested, we would not be approaching that with no dollars in our pocket right now. We'd be approaching it with around 70,000 plus. And if there's any other conversions of current use, because when land is taken out of current use, half goes to the town and half goes to the Conservation Commission. So I think that's the positive part is Frank can be approached. When I looked at it a while back, that land on the tax appraisal, because it is landlocked, was around 60,000. Now, there's not a lot that anybody can do with it because it is a landlocked. It is not on a class 6. I don't know, Dick, whether you were on that or not, but there was an attempt earlier on by Fran or the former owner, I can't remember which, to try to do a development there, and it ran into a roadblock. It actually went all the way to Superior Court, and then the landowners at that point pulled their case, I guess the day they were supposed to be heard in the Superior Court. And that's my recollection from having read through the paperwork that was in the town records here. But
yeah, it is landlocked, and they can log it.
That's right.
You have to give them an access. Excuse me.
I said that's correct. Yeah.
They can log it, and you have to give them an access to that for the purpose, but you don't have to give them a permanent access to do a development. That's what I believe came out of that court hearing.
Yeah, and I think the town has actually given them access for logging, because that parcel has been logged. And I think it was logged actually off of the Orchard Trail, because the very tail end of the Orchard Trail is actually, and that log landing is actually on that parcel. It's not on Prospect Farm, if you look at the maps, yeah. So I will work on, once the vote takes place on Thursday, I'll start to see if we can't start to chase out and see if we can get any indication from him or not.
Didn't he attend our?
He did attend,
Okay,
yes, yeah.
yes.
And I think we've always been clear, it's a willing seller, willing buyer.
Yeah.
And obviously, if we're going to use town monies, it has to be at fair market value. It can't be way above and beyond.
I do think the idea of bringing it into that committee that's looking at I know they're mostly looking at infrastructure, but I don't think that's a bad idea to bring it up to them as well. You think about how much money skiing brings into town, and you think about where all the snow is right now. Adding that parcel of land seems like a good idea for the town in general. Not just for skiers, not just for ski touring, but just money, hotels, everybody in general.
Yeah.
So I know that a big part of what they're looking at is the school, the fire department, police station. So I know most of it's like infrastructure or buildings, but I know part of that conversation is going to involve land.
Yeah.
Because I know that they have talked about you know, maybe thinking about other places that the police department or fire department might end up, so.
But then it's a question of, if there are sufficient funds, then you don't need to put it on that list.
Right.
And
I guess I was thinking more if we wanted to be like, hey, we'll put up half of it or something. Half of it will come from this. Maybe half of it will come from a warrant article or something else. I guess it depends on what we want to spend the money on.
And my guess is you might even be able to raise it through the difference.
Mm-hmm.
But my recollection is there's around 70,000, I have to go back and check. And the Ski Touring Foundation did sell off this past year 5 acres of what they owned on Route 16, which was in current use. So in theory, half of that, because of the 10% penalty, because once you're less than 10 acres, it's got to be pulled. So there should be, actually, I think, more than the 65 or 70 in there once that shows up on the books. So it's in the right ballpark for what that parcel is probably worth, but then it's up to Fran as to what he's going to decide or not, because it's definitely a willing seller, willing buyer basis.
Well, thanks, Dick, for bringing that back up. I think that's an important step to continue to pursue. Any other new business?
Oh, the last thought I had is that I think he'll probably watch this, but it seems like we volunteered Jeff to do a couple things tonight. Should we email him that or let him know? I think we volunteered Jeff to do a couple things tonight. I didn't know if we should just shoot him an email, just be like, hey, by the way, we're asking you to send a letter, and we're not, just in case, because I think he's probably gonna watch it, but just in case.
Manure pile.
Manure pile and Zoom.
Yeah, that's right.
So just like a heads up.
And moving forward on that kiosk.
The kiosk.
In the kiosk. Yeah. That's what happens when you're not here.
That's why I came.
And we have a location, correct?
For the kiosk?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think we do. I mean, we talked about it being essentially like the what I call the main parking area, like the bigger parking area, and we talked about 2 spots. Originally, we talked about right smack dab in the center of it as the most eye-catching thing. But then there was also talk about moving over to where the path was, but then there's some concern because that path tends to erode, like they might get undermined, right? So there was talk about putting it just sort of right smack in the middle, and then there was talk about putting it on either end at like kind of the main entrances off that main parking area.
Well, the only reason I raise it is because it says that bid, if I got it correct, said installed.
Right.
He's not going to tell us where, he's going to ask us.
So we gotta remember
We should be
that.
sitting there deciding.
Yeah.
Test it.
So ideally, you would want it pretty close to where you're walking in, the main part you're walking in. So I'd have to look again. If my memory is right, the kind of the entrance on the right loses a lot. Like you lose a lot of sediment there.
Down to the picnic
It's like
table.
goes down, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of things wash out through there.
I think it's.
So maybe it makes more sense to have it up towards like more closer to the emergency entrance. Have it there.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Because you want it basically right where everyone's going to walk by.
Yeah, and the problem is if you put it right in the middle, people will come out of their car a lot of times and they walk behind their car.
Yeah.
And if you get cars that are nosed in and it's
They won't be able
there,
to get in front of
then
it.
you can't even walk up to see it. So
So over on the left side near the emergency vehicle parking.
Mm-hmm.
I can walk up there and look at it at some point.
Yeah. Snow will be gone by tomorrow.
Oh, we still have skiathon.
That's right.
Still can't leave
I
yet.
was told it was, I thought it was today.
It was supposed to be today, but
Oh, it was, okay.
It didn't happen.
That's a bummer. Yeah, I noticed.
yeah. It was supposed to be today. We pushed it off to next. So the rain date is next week. It's next Monday, which would be okay except for Saturday. It's still like really rain.
Really? Goodness.
That's what I saw. I mean, they're talking about, I don't know. It's, a week out, so who knows?
Sounds like New England.
I've already committed myself to possibly lots of shoveling on Sunday.
Yeah.
Trying to get as much snow on the loop as I can.
Bummer. Well, would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second?
Ben? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Dick.
Thanks, Dick.
Bye.
Alright.
Bye.
I like it. I like the quick ones. That was good. Yeah.